Okay, good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order. This is the special meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May, New Jersey. We are in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. The time is 5:30. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of City Council and posted on the Cape May City website and Cape May City Hall Bulletin Board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Councilmember Baldwin.
Here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Mullick.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan.
Here.
Councilmember Yeager.
Here.
City Solicitor Gillenschwartz.
Here.
City Manager Vall.
Here.
And Deputy City Clerk Dillon. Here. Mayor, we have one resolution listed for the special meeting. It's Resolution 82-03-2022. It's a resolution providing for a meeting not open to the public in accordance to the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. This is for IAFF Local 3495 Memorandum of Agreement discussions.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan.
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager.
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
Mayor,
Thank
would you
you.
like to hold a public portion prior to
Yes.
closed session?
Let's open it up for public comment. Seeing no public comment, motion to move into our special meeting.
Yep. Going into closed session at 5:32.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Are we rolling with live stream? We're just coming out of closed session, and we have to adjourn the closed session, right?
I'm not sure if our solicitor might want to give a little brief overview if any actions to be taken as a result of the closed session.
Sure. Council discussed a proposed memorandum of agreement for the firefighters union, and I believe that we anticipate having a resolution and perhaps official action at the regular portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to close the special meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor. If you're ready to call the work session to order.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2021. We are here in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. This is the work session meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May. The time is now 6:10. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of City Council, posted on the Cape May City website and Cape May City Hall Bulletin Board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Councilmember Baldwin? Here. Councilmember Meyer?
Here.
Mayor Mullick?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Here?
Councilmember Yeager?
Here.
City Solicitor Gillen Schwartz?
Here.
City Manager Vaughn?
Here.
And Deputy City Clerk Dillon? Here.
I just want to open the meeting by thanking Reverend Alan Leonard, who is here with us from the Church of the Advent. And given today's current events, we wanted to open today's meeting with a prayer for the Ukraine. If you could join us, Reverend, thank you very much for being here.
Reverend, if you could make sure the green light is on, please, on your microphone. Thank
Green
you.
light is on.
Thank you, sir.
Let us pray. Eternal God, in whose perfect kingdom no sword is drawn but the sword of righteousness, no strength is known but the strength of love. Tonight we pray especially for the Ukraine and for Russia, that they might know peace and trust in your protection. Watch over and protect all the people caught in the violence of war. So mightily spread abroad your spirit, that all people may be gathered under the banner of the Prince of Peace, as your children of one Father, to whom your dominion and glory is now and forever. Amen.
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 Thank you very much, Reverend. We appreciate that. And before we go to our city manager update and solicitor, we do have an award for one of our fellow council members. It was dropped off earlier today for somebody who had volunteered as the president of the Cape May County League of Municipalities, who was unable to attend the other evening. And a friend of yours, Bill Keener from Seattle City, council member, came by and dropped this off. So how about a round of applause for our fellow council member, Shane Meyer. And I have to tell you, Mr. Meyer did a wonderful job representing the city of Cape May in that capacity, so we thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, if you would like to, we have a few additions to the agenda prior to the manager's update, if you don't mind.
Thank you for keeping that
I got you.
up to date.
I got you. All right, council, we have Resolution 92-03, 2022. It's a resolution approving a memorandum of agreement between the City of Cape May and the IAFF Local 3495. If we have a motion to add it to the agenda.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Council, we also have 93-03-2022, a resolution authorizing the use of competitive contracting for the provision of tourist and visitor transportation services in the city of Cape May. To add.
Do I have, pardon me, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan,
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
And that is all for, unless council has any other additions or deletions?
Any other?
The potential amendments for the two ordinances,
Yes, if council would like to address those when we,
introduce, Okay.
prior to introduction, unless the solicitor might want to go over it now, up to you guys.
It's
Let's
up to-
do it upon introduction, is that all right?
And I'm prepared to address those. We can go over each individual one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
In that case, Mayor, next we do have the updates from the city manager and solicitor.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen. I was out this weekend. The progress in New Jersey Avenue is coming along that you awarded the reconstruction. We sent out letters both to the New Jersey Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue on the reconstruction that's coming up there. Thursday, we had a meeting with Soldiers and Sailors Park, and the solicitor's going to touch on it tonight. There's a little typo in the balance. We received an update from Bob Church on the Lafayette Street drop-off improvements. After the last meeting, I guess he dropped off the updated plans for council to review. They're in your meeting room. We sent letters out for support to the New Jersey Congress and Senate and DEP Commissioner and the Governor, looking for support for our grant for the desal plant, for the water plant. We had contract negotiations with the firefighters. Of course, you're going to touch on that tonight. Rusty Lindholm, who's been a valued employee, has now been promoted to Assistant Superintendent or Supervisor of Public Works. Lafayette Street plans were dropped off, as I mentioned. We're advertising for seasonal laborers at the Department of Public Works, and also we're looking to hire pool lifeguards and camp counselors for the part of Casey's department. Had a proud day today. We swore in a nice, respectable young man to sergeant. It's now Sergeant Cole. He's a resident here of Cape May, and he's going to be a real asset. He's going to be in charge of Squad 1, and we're pleased to have him within our department. I know the chief highly recommended him, and all the troops support this promotion. But budget introductions and meetings, I want to thank Lorraine Baldwin, Councilperson Baldwin, and Councilman Mike Yeager for spending their afternoon with Neil Young, our CFO, my deputy Lou, and myself going over each and every item in the budget, so you have a full understanding for the introduction. It's a valued time. When Shane gets time, and if the deputy mayor, when she gets time, be happy to sit and answer any and all questions so that everyone's comfortable when you introduce your budget on the 15th of March. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. City Solicitor?
I don't have anything at the outset, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is our discussion topics. First on the agenda, I see Promenade Arches.
Yes, I was the one that asked for this to be on the agenda, because I feel like for the first time, we heard it at the last meeting that we're doing these arches, and I feel as a council person that I should have an understanding what we're looking to do instead of reading about it and hearing about it on the street. So that's why I asked for some updates on that, or at least some explanation on what is the idea, what wants to be done here.
Okay. If I
You
can
want to jump in? Go ahead.
respond to that. I did bring it up because I wanted to, kind of alert the council as far as a project that I was, working on, a few people were working on. It's not entirely ready to come to council at this point. We secured an architect who's working, gratis for the city. At this point, we're going to do some sketches. Once that is completed, we'll have some, kind of estimated costs. And at that point, it'll be ready to come to council as far as if it's a project that, we're going to continue with. But it's really not ready with costs or
But that's right.
sketches.
But how many arches are we looking at? Are they going to be like wooden or what's some ideas for this? So, because people keep asking me questions about this.
Well, she just said that she's not ready to present that, and by she, I mean Councilwoman Baldwin, I apologize. So why don't we allow her to do that
Well-
research and then present it and answer all those questions?
Well, I just feel like that people keep coming to me, that must be on these committees or that are hearing it through the committees that what's going on. And I just feel like I'm in the dark about, are they got the whole length of the boardwalk? Is it just a couple? I just, if it's an idea, I think as a council, before too much work is spent doing it, let's hear what the idea is. I mean, we don't want anybody to go off on their own doing projects. Because that's one thing I think we're missing here, is that we have to decide what projects we want to do as a council and prioritize them, so that we're not all over the board with different projects.
It's not all over the board. I can tell you that Councilwoman Baldwin approached me, frankly brought a architect that was willing to do it gratis, so nothing's been spent on it, and she wants to put together her thoughts to bring to council in a complete package. I think that's completely fair, and we should give her the time to do that so that she can present it in a full way. We're not spending any money on it at this time.
Yeah, and at this point, there's other organizations that are possibly looking at funding it.
Well, see, that's where, when we have other organizations looking at it, that's where they're getting an understanding what the project's going to be before, I think, council. That was just my, it seems like everybody knows about it, but the people that sit on council and what these projects are.
Yeah, no,
Would you be willing to sit down with any council member in regards?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this, in other words, we're going to go behind the scenes again.
No, and you know what? And as we were working with the architect out on the boardwalk, there was a question, okay, how many, what is it going to look like? These are things that are still in developmental stages, so we don't even know how many arches they're going to be. We have an idea of where, probably between Mermaids and between Primal, but you also have to look at it in a sequential way from the original arches. And that's where the architect has come in and said that he's going to work on it and map everything out. He has the maps, and he's doing this gratis at this point. So we don't have those answers right now.
Yeah, I was really surprised when people had come to me about the arches and said, what's going on with the city? Is that I didn't realize that the arches were used as lighting for the city, for the boardwalk.
Yeah, the old Edison bulbs that were there. Mm-hmm.
So,
And it is my understanding is we're looking at old photographs of the arches that used to go over the promenade. It looks like a beautiful idea at this point, which merits further investigation. And the fact that Councilwoman Baldwin has brought in an architect gratis, has already looked at getting funding sources outside of the taxpayers to do it. I think that's a pretty good start to a project that, let me say this. Nobody just spouts off ideas up here at the table. Good projects are planned, and people are allowed some time to plan those projects to present it to the public or present it to the council. Now, once Councilmember Baldwin puts together some type of presentation, we can say no. We can look at it as a council and say, no, this is a bad idea and we shouldn't pursue it. But each council member, and I mean this to everybody, we want to give people the opportunity to make a good pitch to council, and every single one of you, I would say the same exact thing. If you have an idea that you'd like to present to council, you should be given the ample opportunity to present it in a way that's cohesive, makes sense, and it's not just simply kind of spouting off ideas. We want to see real progress. So I'm fine with it. You're willing to sit down with any council members to go over this with any questions. And frankly, I think it sounds like a nice project.
We'll see, yeah. Once the presentation, we get some prices in and some better direction.
Good. Okay?
I'll be back. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Jitney Transportation Services.
yes, this is, we actually have the RFP added to the agenda. And what Mr. Gillenshorts and I looked at it was to take out anything that might be an obstacle for people not to want to bid on the Jitney. And one of them
That's good.
we had talked about was even the $2 million insurance, which is a little bit more than we went for other projects.
Yeah, we have some flexibility there on insurance requirements and the make of the vehicles, the number of seats, that type of thing. So I think the goal, and this sort of piggybacks on the way council dealt with this last year, is to swing open the doors as much as possible to any potential applicants. So this year's RFP includes trolleys, jitneys, low-speed vehicles, and any other vehicles that may kind of fit the bill. And this is a competitive contracting proposal, so price is one factor. There's all sorts of other factors that go into council's ultimate determination. Of course, when you get the bids in, you have the option to reject all of them and do it again, and council did that last year. When we didn't get any bids in, we had to go for it again. So I think it's a late addition tonight, but you'll remember last year, we got into this pretty late, and we were already into the heat of summer before we awarded one. So I do agree. I think it's a good idea to get it out there as soon as possible and see what comes back in the net that you cast.
And you think basically you cut away most of the limitations that, and I'm for Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, we
Okay.
tried to.
That's
I think
good.
a lot were cut out last year.
Right.
Where we said we only wanted contractors that were like nonprofit, So with this one, we kind of took out
Okay.
maybe what was left in there. And still had wording in there where if they don't meet all the criteria, still give us a bid. Then maybe
Perfect.
we might be able to use that equipment for the jitney. Like I
Sure.
said, I don't want to say jitney because we're not looking just for a jitney. Transportation services, golf carts, trolleys, anything that can transport people from one place to the other.
And it's the same routes as was last year?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I think there's one part of the route that I think we really should be cutting out, and that's the route that goes all the way to the Coast Guard base and back again. A person that my bus route in high school was all the way down and all the way back. It's a long road. It's a lot of time spent going down, coming back, and then having them make a left-hand turn onto Pittsburgh, that you're wasting almost probably 15 minutes.
Do we have the ridership numbers on that, like maybe by route? I don't know if we do.
I don't
Should.
know if it's by.
I know we have ridership numbers.
Yeah, but I don't know if they,
It
even
was.
say- I don't think they'd
I
say
don't
they
think
got off the, if they got on the Coast
Yeah,
Guard base.
And I don't think they're by route.
I don't think they are either. I know that our
I'd
last,
just be curious.
our last contract, and this one actually calls for that data to be kept track of by the contractor ultimately, and last year it was the same thing. So I don't know if we have that tonight, but I'm sure that it's available in some form somewhere.
That was the only thing that I saw in the route that maybe we want to take out, because the whole idea with the trolley is you want to get people moving from one point to the other in a good amount of time, so they're willing to get on and not just sit there for 45 minutes.
You'd
was
still
my
be
reason.
providing, sorry to interrupt, Deputy Mayor, but you'd still be providing access along Pittsburgh Avenue to service
Yeah.
that area, so it would be going down Pittsburgh like it was before.
It's funny, I had the same bus route as you did, but, and the whole, the point of that bus route, or that route there is to go to the nature center, but I think it should be an opportunity to say, an optional route for anybody that happen to be going that way, not a permanent route to pick up, this transportation service, just thinking out loud of possibilities.
But you know how long it is getting down and back.
It would just be interesting to know the amount of people that have taken it. If it's that low, then,
I do think, I've heard, I believe I remember hearing that not many people were picked up or dropped off in that area.
Here's the other thing too. If you kind of leave the route in the RFP to Pittsburgh Avenue and people are clamoring for the nature center, we retain the ability to readjust the route as we deem
as
necessary.
part of it. Okay.
So you can adjust as you go if you need to.
Yeah, and the nature center isn't all the way down to the base, so it's not, it's half, probably less than, half the distance.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, we have the 2022 municipal budget.
Actually, I brought this up because I just wanted to express my disappointment that as a council, we're not going to sit as a group, hear each other's questions and answers with the city manager and the CFO concerning the budget. To me, by going into one-on-one discussions with them, we're losing our ability as a council to hear and to work as a group towards the budget. To me, that's being open and transparent when you sit at the table and you discuss a budget and have questions and have them answered so everybody in the public can hear. One of the questions that I want to put out there to the council, because we're not going to discuss this again until the 15th. At that time, we're introducing
That's our next
it.
meeting.
Right, our next meeting, we're going to be introducing it, but as a council, we're not going to be discussing it as a whole until that time. And I think it'd be nice if we had questions put out there so you had time to think about it and not react on the fly on that night. So with that being said, I have a couple ideas that I want to run past everybody to think about, and that one of them is the jitney. I feel the jitney should be in the tourism utility. It is a tourism, we're using for tourism to get people moving around for parking. We just raised the occupancy tax, so that's why I think this expense should be in that tourism utility. To be in the manager's budget is not where it should be. I think we did that the first year because we did it later on after the budget was approved, and I think that's why it was put in there to begin with. I also think that we should have an understanding on, there's an outsourcing of landscaping services, and we're doing away with supposedly 5 less seasonal for buildings and grounds. I think we should have some kind of feasibility to see if this is worthwhile for us to go out to bid and what the bid has to be to come in for us to be saving money versus having 5 less seasonal workers to do this landscaping service. And I believe that my questions and the answers to my questions were disseminated to everybody, and that included that there seems to be a couple new positions that are being added to the budget. One is a full-time administrator floater, a full-time building and grounds, 1 full-time street and roads. The police department, since they removed 4 dispatchers, were removed. 2 additional full-time officers are budgeted, and 1 additional full-time clerical is budgeted. So I think these are important that we're aware. I also asked Neil, again, if we could have that list of capital expenses so we know what we're doing for capital expenses without having to go through the whole book and just have a list like they have in previous years. So that's all that I had to say about the budget.
Okay.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll say is we are going to have that exact meeting at our next meeting. That is what we discussed, and it's the process that's been established for decades in Cape May. We had the presentation by the city manager. We made sure that all council members had the book before that presentation, which had not been the practice in the past. We made sure that happened this time. And the entire budget will be on the website once we have it introduced. So everyone will be able to see the budget from the public. I hope that people read it. It's a very good document. And at our next meeting, which is the introduction, we will, as a council, be discussing it. And again, that has been the process for many, many years. And Mr. Meyer, said that last week when we had the manager's presentation. That is the process. It has been the process. And I can assure everyone that this will be an open and transparent presentation. We want people to see the budget. Again, the entire budget will be online over a month before adoption. We'll be looking at adoption, I think, April
19th, I think?
19th, right. So for over a month, that budget will be on the website for anyone to take a look at and comment on, frankly.
I just want to make one point. You're right. We did get the books ahead of time, which was great. But I thought it was pretty comical that I was told that I wasn't allowed to ask questions at the budget meeting.
Any other comments on this?
I just want to make one quick comment, and I want to thank Manager Vole, Deputy Manager Belasco, as well as Neil Young, CFO, for meeting with me today. But I'd urge every council member to really go and see the department heads. Once we got that budget book, I did go through it. Had questions myself, whether or not it was from the police. Sat down and met with Chief Fashall. Going to be sitting down and talking to DPW as well as the water and sewer. So, just so I have a good understanding and I can educate myself as well as understand what their needs are. So,
Yeah. I agree with you. That's why I attended the meetings in November, when the department's heads came to give their budget requests. And in the past, those department heads used to come and give it to council along with that, so everybody heard that, what they were saying. As a council, we are encouraged, or we should be going to those budget where they are asking for their capital expenses, because it is a good time to ask questions. When I was there, I did have a couple questions for them, and they were very enlightening. I think that's where you realize what the most important things are for capital equipment, when they have to justify it to council why they want it, versus just to one person for the justification.
Can I ask one more quick
Please.
question, Mayor? Mr. Gillen-Schwartz, is that typically the way that things work, or does it go through the manager's office?
Well,
I don't know.
the conduit for discussions with the administrative staff go through the city manager. But, you know, as long as the city manager's in the loop on those discussions and is a part of that, that's really the only way business can get done, and that type of review can occur.
Okay.
I compliment Councilmember Baldwin and Mike Yeager for meeting with those different departments and understanding. When Mike got here the first day, took him for a tour at Public Works and Sewer and Water, and had an understanding, asked a lot of great questions. And today is the process that I've been begging council for, and Mike and Lorraine met this afternoon. We met for a few hours. I just had enough time to go home, get changed, to get back to this meeting. And then we got into capital, the list of capital, which all council will be receiving. And if there's any additions, deletions, that's the time when we get one-on-one and understand exactly where the budget's at, instead of, and I'm not saying wasting time, but be later in your meetings with the questions here when we could have all these questions answered ahead of time. We are transparent. My office has nothing to hide. And when a council member or the mayor asks questions, you get answers. Today, Deputy Mayor, you sent me some questions, 3 or 4 this afternoon while I was meeting with the other 2 council people. I have not had time to answer them, but you will get an answer, just like you do every time you ask. That's the proper way. It's the respective way, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the process is we will have the budget introduction at our next meeting, the 15th. It's a darn good budget. There certainly could be some things that each council member may disagree with or agree with. When you look at a 300-page document, you're not going to agree on everything that's in it. But I can tell you it's without a tax increase. We're getting a lot of work done in there. Tonight, you'll see we're giving some deserved raises and back pay and things like that. So there are a lot of good projects, capital expenditures that are in this budget, still at 0%, while adding to the surplus, which was very important, I thought, because we had a good season last year. Let's add to the surplus and make sure we have a good rainy day fund, not just doing the big capital expenditures and capital projects. So in any event, again, that'll be on the 15th. And again, the citizens will have over a month to view the budget in its entirety before second reading on April 19th. Okay. I think, any other questions or comments on that?
I'd like to just add a comment,
Please,
if
go
I may,
ahead,
Mayor.
Mr. Meyer.
Thank you.
Yes.
I ran into Rob Comiskey at my work, and he mentioned also that Lorraine was going to get a tour of the water facility. I think this is a very important thing for all of City Council and maybe even the public to understand that this project of expanding our desalinization plant is very important and somewhat complicated, and it's another good opportunity for council members to understand how our infrastructure works. So I thought that was really cool that you did that.
Thank you. Okay, on to ordinances for introduction.
Yes, Council. First up, we have Ordinance 456, 2022, an ordinance amending Section 525 of the City Code regarding vertical datum standards and confirming the applicability of NAVD 88.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I'm sure no one understood what you just said.
I don't
So
understand what I just said.
I'll have Deputy Manager Lou Belasco. Do you want to give us a brief explanation on this ordinance, if you would? I know I'm catching you off guard.
This essentially brings our zoning ordinance in compliance with or in coordination with our flood ordinance. In 2017, we adopted new flood maps that across the entire country converted to the 88 datum, NAVD 88. It's about 1.3 feet lower than the 1929 one. So our zoning ordinance was not updated at that time. This updates our zoning, so now we'll have one datum that we're measuring from. So our flood, we would wind up with a set of plans that had two sets of heights and measurements on it, one for the zoning ordinance, one for the flood ordinance, created confusion and just a jumbled kind of mess off on the side of the plan. So this rectifies that and gets us all on one page.
Thank you for your patience in implementing this ordinance.
And just for clarification, so no height, we're not increasing any height with anything, it's just more of just the what number we're using.
It's the
Correct.
measurement, and the NAVD is generally regarded as being more accurate than the old 88 versus 29, which is where we're at now, so that's why.
Yeah, but it does not change the height with which you build to. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Deputy Manager? Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Next, we have ordinance 457-2022, an ordinance amending section 525 and 417 of the city code regarding expiration and extension of variance approval.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And council, there was a version distributed earlier today with some minor, this
I
was
can-
minor updates if.
I can take
Chris would
this
like.
one and explain this to council. I'll just, this ordinance, what this would do, the city of Cape May does not have an expiration of variances provision in its code, which is common in a lot of other towns. You see 2 years a lot in a lot of the other city codes. Cape May does not have an expiration for variances. Now, there are statutory expirations, obviously, and extension provisions for site plan and subdivision, and those will apply whether you have a code or not. So preliminarily, I just want to point out, and just, obviously, there's been a lot of public interest in some of the latest planning board and zoning board applications. This is not touching or amending any of the provisions that were at issue in any application. This is
Any existing is,
right. We're not, and just to be clear for the public and any applicants and the board, we're not toying with any language that was at issue in any application. This is new language, and the new language only addresses variance relief, which there's no provision in the code for now. So we reference some of those provisions that may be in the code, but this is new language, and it puts an expiration on variances. That includes C variances, D variances, and any applications that implicate those relief, like site plan with variances, not just site plan, but site plan with variances, this would cover as well. 2-year expiration, it provides for an extension process, which largely mirrors the process in the municipal land use law, and that provides that people can make an application before or after, they put their basis on the record, they create a record, and importantly, when pursuant to the municipal land use law, when you have to apply for a C or D variance, you have to notice the 200-foot list within the subject property and do publication at least 10 days in advance. So if somebody got a variance, they would have had to gone through that process in order for the board to have jurisdiction to hear the application. I'll point out that some towns require, they don't have the discretion to waive notice on that case because it's under the statute. But when it comes time for extensions, they may not require notice in that case, and the municipal land use law does not require that. But the municipality certainly has the discretion to require notice for, again, notice and publication for the extension of a variance. And some towns opt to do that, and it avoids the sleeping variances problem. It keeps the public informed of the goings-on in their neighborhood, and it allows for the public to participate in any extensions and to hear what the applicant has to say in that regard. So What this ordinance would do, again, is it would, any applications involving variance relief, there would be a 2-year expiration to the variance portion. Applicants would have the option or the ability to make an application for an extension, and the board would have discretion to grant or deny that based on whatever they put on the record. And then before they get to the point of the hearing on the application of the extension, they would have to do the 200-foot and the publication, just like they did in the original application pursuant to the municipal land use law. And the clarification that was noted for tonight is, the only change is that we're just clarifying that the 200-foot list would have to be the up-to-date 200-foot list at the time of the extension, not relating back to something that may have been years in the past. So,
That's a good point.
Does everyone understand that update?
Yeah.
That it has to be an up-to-date 200-foot list, not one from 2009 or something, which was one of the original problems. And I'm not we all know examples of issues that have happened where there was extensions, and then the neighbors were very surprised when something happened right next to their house based on a permit that may have been issued a long time ago. So, and frankly, I see Dr. Maslow here. He brought some of these to our attention at the last meeting. Compliments to our solicitor for acting pretty quickly, because I think they made a lot of sense. And I think really it addresses two issues. The issue of extension and the amount of time that we have to do that, and the issue of noticing everyone within the 200-foot list.
now,
Yeah.
now I will point out what this ordinance doesn't do is there are certain applications and approvals and extensions of those approvals that don't implicate noticing. And that's under the municipal land use law, like a conventional site plan, for example. That does not require noticing under the municipal land use law. So it kind of makes sense that if you didn't require notice in the outset, that an extension wouldn't require notice too. So I just want to point that clarification out to council. You do have some discretion to require noticing if you see fit, but my point is that this is tracking with the municipal land use law. If you required noticing at the outset and you want to get an extension, you have to do noticing for the extension. If you didn't require noticing for your application and your approval, and you just have to follow the code and the municipal land use law, and that doesn't require noticing. But all variances would require noticing, and any extensions would as well.
Great. Any other questions on this ordinance? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan,
Yes?
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
Next, council, we have ordinance 458-2022, an ordinance amending Chapter 310 of the Code of the City of Cape May concerning licensing and permits to include permitting for special events in the City of Cape May.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And council, you also received an updated version of that this afternoon.
Mayor, I can take this one as well.
Please.
So before council tonight is a proposed special events ordinance. And what this seeks to do is codify this. We have special events occurring in the city and have for many years. So what this does is seek to codify the existing process that the administration has used to process these types of requests. You know, some special events may require support from city services, police, fire, EMS, public works. And in those cases, the administration has done its due diligence to try and coordinate those, and if there's costs, they've been assessed. But what this does is corral all that information, or seeks to corral that information in one location for clarity for the staff, for the administration to process the various departments that may have to be involved, and also for the public, so that they have sort of a roadmap and set expectations for when these types of events occur. This ordinance would cover any special event, and I'll get to the definition of that in a second, but on any public grounds, park, or road. So it doesn't cover private property. Shutting down a road, rerouting traffic, using a public area, public park, as an example, that would be covered. This also is triggered by events that are, it gives examples: concert, race, walkathon, fair, carnival, festival, celebration, show, or other similar event, again, on any public ground or park or road, which is likely to require the expenditure of city resources in the form of the police department, fire department, Department of Public Works, Recreation, and/or EMS, salaries, wages, and other expenses. If it's likely to implicate those things and it occurs on public ground, then it would be potentially implicated by this ordinance. Now, that's the scope. There's some additional language after I received some comment over the weekend and made some adjustments to clarify, I think, the intent of this. So under 310.36, there's subsection B and C. And B indicates that the ordinance is not intended to apply to small gatherings or assemblies on public property that do not substantially impact use or enjoyment by other members of the public, substantially impede, alter, or impact pedestrian or vehicular traffic, or otherwise require the expenditure of city resources set forth above. So the goal of that is to clarify that, there are certainly some gatherings that may, ad hoc gatherings that may occur in public spaces, and that's not raising or implicating the concerns of a special event permit. So we wanted to clarify that if you want to meet at the beach with your friends to watch the sunset, that's not a special event, to give you an example.
It
And
might be special.
well, to them, yeah. But to bury that type of thing in bureaucracy or leave open the idea that this might be implicated by that, we wanted to clarify that, and it seemed like a common sense thing to carve out, because I think that's really what this is designed to cover and designed not to cover. In addition, the ordinance will not apply to convention hall events. The reason for that is there's a whole host of events, special or otherwise, that are governed by private agreements, separate agreements, and convention hall is sort of in a class of its own in terms of events. So we thought that it was a good idea to carve that out. In addition, any event otherwise covered by another section of the code is not going to be covered by it. We have a section in the code regarding weddings on public property, for example. I will point out that if there are events that would implicate the concerns in here, I think the city still retains the discretion to address those items, but we thought it was important to carve out sort of the smaller things and not regulate to absurdity with this ordinance. So there's application requirements to provide general information to the city. There's a fee schedule that I'll point out is totally consistent with what's already in our code. For example, our wedding permit fee is $50. Our special event permit fee is $50. If you're a tax exempt organization, there's a $25 fee instead. There's a rush application fee. We want to get these submitted at least 45 days in advance to provide adequate planning and response time.
And that is what exists today, those fees.
No, we don't have any fee structure right now, except that the allocation of cost incurred, I think, is something that the city seeks to recover in those cases.
What happens if someone goes in right now for an event permit
There's
without
no
this
fee.
code?
There's no fee. There's a process.
Okay.
So that application, a lot of this we already do. There hasn't been a fee. We've been trying to implement one for years, just to kind of bring everything into compliance with the weddings. Like, we would charge for a wedding at a certain location, but if somebody wants to have a craft show there, there's no charge. So this kind of just brings everything, our current process, it adds some slight fees to it, but it mostly just codifies what's already happening and clarifies it a little bit more for the staff and the public, I think. This is something we've been wanting to do for a few years now.
How many permits do you think you get per year?
For special events?
Requests?
You know, it's tough. The last few years, COVID really
Right.
did a number on those. In the past, we would get a good number. I mean, think of all of the race, every single race in town,
You think 50? Less?
maybe,
Yeah,
maybe around then.
around 50, okay.
It's tough. I really do think, and this is something that we were seeing more and more of. And I
Right.
think in the beginning, we were getting by with our current process, but these
Mm-hmm.
events are coming larger and larger, and they're drawing crowds. And, you know, the city is sometimes expending money in response to these
Right.
events. So I think this is just a way to kind of bring some more protocol into
And just,
play.
and to be clear, just for the public and for all of council, we do not have anything in our code book right now in regards to this.
No.
It's just been a
It's
process.
been in-house as like just a generic permit that my office would take care of.
We have a consistent, we have a process that has been applied consistently over many years.
Yes.
And that has been a custom and practice in the city. It has worked, I think, for the most part. I think to eliminate confusion on both sides, this is really seeking to corral that in writing.
It makes sense to codify this, for
And,
sure.
and I'll add that like I said, there's a fee in here, but right now, it's not being charged. The city is not, this is not like some revenue source. This is, let's not lose our shirts on when these things come in, and they will be processed in good faith. So $50 is charged for weddings. There's substantially more work involved in this processing of this application, and it's the same fee. So just looking to cover cost, and that's really the intent and purpose of any fees that are associated in this ordinance.
Would the Chamber of Commerce events, such as the movies on the beach, be part of this? Would they have to pay a fee? Or would that be a part of the
If
Convention Hall tourism?
if it's city-sponsored, it should be exempt. Any city-sponsored event is also an exception to this.
And that's
So
covered in this.
It's specifically, it doesn't say movies on the beach, but it says any.
City-sponsored.
Any city-sponsored event, yeah.
And to clarify for council, I was saying that it used to be handled by my office. In this ordinance, that responsibility is being shifted to Convention Hall, to Civic Affairs, just because I do believe that this has outgrown my office. It demands a little bit more attention and planning, which Convention Hall is very good at when it comes to events, so.
Any other questions or comments, council?
I'll point out too, just a procedural note that may be of some interest to council. This is typically going to be processed out of the gate by the Department of Civic Affairs. They'll refer it out to various department heads if they're implicated, get the feedback. That's why we want them 40 days in advance, 45 days in advance. We're not tied to that timeline. If we need additional time, we need additional time depending on the nature and scope of the request. The ultimate determination is going to be made through the city manager's office. If a permit is denied for any reason, that's appealable to city council. So council will have an opportunity to review those issues if they arise. In addition, council also has the discretion under this ordinance to waive these requirements if they deem appropriate. So council kind of maintains oversight over this entire process, but it's generally going to be run through the administration and the city manager's office.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Just before the Star and Wave has a headline that we're increasing fees, I just point out that $50 times 50 events is about $2,500. So I think what the goal here is simply to cover costs within City Hall, right?
And it's $25 for nonprofits.
So, bargain. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes?
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Okay. Council, we have an ordinance for a second reading and consideration for adoption. It's ordinance 454-2022, an ordinance amending Section 81 of the City of Cape May Code to codify procedures for extra-duty police details.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments?
Public.
Mayor, we do have a
Pardon me,
public
yeah.
hearing scheduled. if you'd
Thank
like
you.
to
Any
raise-
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this ordinance? Is it second reading and adoption? Seeing none. Any comments or questions from council? No? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes?
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan? Yes. Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mellick?
Yes.
Next, council, we have the public portion on the resolutions only. Anyone wishing to publicly comment, please come forward, give your name and address, speak into the microphone. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. This is on the resolutions listed only.
Anyone have a comment on resolutions only at this time? Seeing none, we can move the consent agenda.
Council, anything you'd like to remove from the consent agenda this evening?
I have number 85, 86, 89, and 92.
I was anticipating doing 92 and 93 separate unless council would like to have them included on the consent agenda.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, clerk.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Sheehan wanted to remove 92 from the consent agenda. I was planning on doing them separately since you added them this evening, so
That's off the agenda anyway.
is that okay?
Okay, okay, that's fine.
Separate?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so 85, 86, and 89 off the consent agenda. Any others, council?
Anything else? No? Okay.
So tonight we have Resolution 8303, 2022, a resolution authorizing Cape May's participation in the 2022 Safety Incentive Program for the Atlantic County Joint Municipal Insurance Fund. 8403, 2022, resolution approving proposal for additional services regarding the Franklin Street School and Library renovation. 8703, 2022, resolution refunding overpaid water and sewer utility for 1506 New Jersey Avenue. 8803, 2022, a resolution authorizing an auction bid for lease of city-owned property known as 702 Beach Avenue. And 9003, 2022, resolution to appoint a contact person for the Employment Practices Liability Attorney Consulting Service for the ACM JIF. We have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, good, okay.
Was 91 pulled as well?
Did I skip 91? Oh, I'm sorry, 9103, 2022, resolution for the payment of bills.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
All right. Council, we have 8503, 2022, resolution authorizing advertisement for bid proposals for a solar energy system at City Hall.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Questions, comments?
The reason why I pulled this, I just want to make sure that we're following the procedures, and this should be seen by HPC, to get HPC's input on this, since it's a historic building that we're putting the solar panels on. And also, I was thinking that maybe we should propose in there that the solar panels can't be seen from the street, because I'm thinking that was one. They can't, but we're not really saying that in here, and I don't know if we should be specifying that, so that they realize what they're bidding on.
I don't mind putting that as a specification. I just will point out that HPC won't allow it. So once we have that application, which we do want to do for sure, they're not going to allow solar panels. But it's not a problem to put it in. Could we?
So, a couple things. The resolution provides that you're going to authorize a bid potentially for this. The ultimate construction would be, the start of construction. In the resolution, I had sent a revised resolution that would address HPC advisory review on, any plan. You'll want to do that having the benefit of, one, if you decide to award one, they're going to produce us like a plan or a concept plan, and that will actually give us something to give to the HPC to review and comment on. Now, the HPC's comment is, again, advisory. If this is awarded and done, it's a city project. So if they say, no, it's not a good idea, well, the city can determine that, we want to do this and we want to move forward. That comment is important. It's provided for in the code. I'll point out, just as an aside, the standard under the Secretary of Interior guidelines for solar panels is minimally visible. If you put them on this roof, you're going to have a hard time getting any vantage point unless you're on top of Victorian Towers for seeing those panels. Because I think the array is going to be oriented in such a way that you're not going to be able to view it from the streetscape, which is the concern for the HPC.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for the HPC, But that's the lens that they may be looking at it through.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you that I wouldn't think you'd be able to see it, but we don't know how they're going to decide how to put them up there. Maybe they want to raise them up, and that's the only reason why I thought it'd be fair to, given this RFP, fair to people that are bidding on it, that the idea is to make sure that they're not seen. So they might have to require more work, or might have to,
Does this require HPC review?
It's part of it's in the resolution that prior to doing any work,
Right.
you're going to submit, the contractor is going to present you with a concept plan.
So it has,
It's
well,
a
it doesn't
courtesy.
have to be
We're giving
approved.
We're giving
Right.
the HBC a courtesy because we are the city and we are exempt from our own rules when it comes to HBC standards.
Right.
But this
But
is
we
a
want
courtesy we're giving to them.
Right.
Would that
So,
be
so the
correct?
resolution
correct.
does address, though, that it should go before the HPC?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And even if it didn't, it's a city project that pursuant to code, we send it to them for advisory review.
Got it. Any other questions or comments?
Go ahead. I have to remember what I was going to say.
I just said I'd like to make a motion then that we just specify in here that the desire is for the solar panels not to be seen
From the street.
Is that okay for the,
from the street.
can I just ask the solicitor a question on that? Does that change for this bid?
No, I mean, what I would suggest,
I just think it should be, the people that are bidding should understand what our desire is, to give them all fair and adequate ability to put the proper bid in.
Especially those that may not realize that we have an HBC, especially a strong one.
let me, there may be a place where we can put this in here, just if you can give me 1 second.
Mr. Meyer, did you have another question?
Design and
I did.
While he's looking
It's
that
more of a, I don't know, an architectural question. Will these impact our roof? You know, leaking?
Certainly
That's-
could.
This is a very old building. I don't want any, cause any more, you know, leaking in this building.
That part of, yeah, structural, the soundness of the roof structure is definitely an element of the construction planning phase. So prior to getting into that, we're going to want an assessment that, and that the contractor's going to be able to help coordinate that and plan for that. The RFP calls for that sort of planning to go into place.
Okay.
So I think that's on the execution side, definitely going to be concerned, but the contractors are going to be concerned with that as well, so they're kind of incentivized to address that.
Okay.
I think, I'm having trouble pulling up the Word document right now, but what I would suggest to council in terms of the HPC item, and I don't think there's anything wrong with highlighting it to the contractor to say, by the way, we're in a historic town, and the design of these should be such that it's designed to be minimally visible. And I think if you put something like that in there, not only is it giving a heads up to the contractor, but you're giving them, something that is reflected in the Secretary of Interior guidelines. I'd rather say minimally visible than invisible, because that's actually what my understanding of the Secretary of Interior guidelines. There may be different schools of thought on that, but I think you want to leave yourselves the flexibility that if you want to do this project, you can decide to do it.
I have a comment, if I may, Mayor.
Please, go
I just
ahead.
want to say that I'm pro solar panels, but the historic integrity of this building is very important to me. And I'm thinking from the perspective of Lafayette and Ocean Street, you know, if they could possibly see the solar panels shining from that distance. I just want to make sure that the HBC is thinking from that distance as well, from the view.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I have a motion out there.
Did you want to change your motion to something to the effect of what our solicitor said?
I said, okay, minimally
Because I'd be happy to second,
visible.
I second it, Ben.
Minimally visible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's important that we give prospective bidders the idea that what we're looking for, so that everybody can
I'm sure we could find a place to include that in the bid specs. I know you're having difficulty right now.
got it.
There's general requirements that list, I'm sure there's,
Page 8 and 9 goes to
Okay.
the
The
design and
design.
specifications. What we can do is, it says page 8, additional design requirements shall include, page 9, bullet points, add a bullet point that says, the design and construction,
are you under design, engineering, permitting? I may have formatted it a little
He's underneath
differently
additional design
than what you
requirement.
sent.
Is a bullet?
On page 8, underneath additional design requirements shall include.
Yes, okay.
so at the very end of that, before construction phase on the next page, design and construction shall incorporate planning for minimally visible final product.
I mean, we all have an idea on our heads what we're looking at, but somebody that's bidding might not have our same thought process, that it's Victorian building and that we don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And they might be looking for best sun possible.
Right.
So could you, we have a motion to amend, and the amendment reads as follows. Could you read that to us back?
The design and construction shall incorporate planning,
I have it, minimal visible final product
from the streetscape.
from Streetscape, okay.
We have a motion and a second based on that, is that correct?
Do we have,
Mr. Meyer, you're okay with that?
Shane? Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes,
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Okay.
Does
do
someone-
we- Oh,
Go-
I'm sorry. I was
Go
gonna
ahead,
say-
clerk, I'm sorry.
No worries. Do we have a motion to adopt as amended?
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
yes,
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Next, we have 8603, 2022, resolution authorizing contract for professional booking and production services for Cape May Convention Hall Summer Concert Series for the year 2022 with Spy Boy Productions.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
a second.
Questions or comments, council?
Yeah, I pulled this for I have some comments and questions. Each show, we're going to get a $1,500 and then $5 per ticket. That $5 per ticket, should it be a percentage and not just a flat rate? And then my other questions are, is there a minimum percentage of ticket prices that we're getting? Because $1,500, to me, almost just covers the cost of personnel for each show,
It doesn't.
and it doesn't cover it.
Probably doesn't, to be honest, yeah.
Right, so
Yeah.
why are we going after it, losing money right from the start? Because I think this, from what I'm reading, we're paying for the advertisement too, and I'm thinking they should be doing the advertisement costs.
I agree with you. This, I have to say, this is a much better contract than had been done in the past. I'll be blunt. When we received reports on this in prior years, it was all revenue-based. There was no discussion on the expenses. So when you looked at the expenses, the revenue looked like it was great, but the expenses were higher. So we were losing money, a significant amount of money on the summer concert series. This is essentially, and for council consideration, of course, in this case, the professional booking agent is paying us rather than us paying them. Obviously, a relatively small amount of money, $1,500, which your point of not covering expenses, it doesn't. It most likely doesn't. Perhaps when you include the $5 per ticket, it most likely will be close to breaking even. But look, I'll tell you, this is no home run by any means, but it does provide entertainment to the town. And I will tell you, in my own opinion, based on the previous contracts, this is a far, far better contract because previously we were actually paying the booking agent and then losing a lot of money. And that's just a fact. But this is for council's consideration, and I think if solicitor, or I see Casey is here, if you have anything to add to that or any questions, let's dig in.
I believe there's almost 800 seats, if that's correct.
Yes.
So
Right.
if it's a home run, it's 800 times $5.
Right. So that's pretty good. But not that good.
Well, I guess my reasoning about the $5 ticket is, some tickets could be $25.
Sure.
And other tickets could be $150, $200.
Yeah. I think
So
this-
that's where I was asking about that. But I guess my strong objection is the advertisement. I really think that they should be taking care of the advertisement, because advertisement can be very expensive.
Can I ask a question based on that? Casey, can I ask you a question on our advertising? Is that okay? Would you please? This is our Director of Convention Hall, and
Hi.
introduce yourself if you would, please.
I'm Casey. I mean, I can just,
Let me ask you one direct question. If I apologize for interrupting. Advertising, which was the question. Do we have a budgeted advertisement allotment within this?
yes.
Okay.
So just to give a little backstory, the first thing I brought to to city management's attention when I first started is the significant loss that was the summer concert series. Hundreds of thousands of dollars loss. So I personally didn't feel comfortable moving forward with that. That's why it was presented in front of you back and forth so many times before we were able to publish it last year. So this is a little bit of a step in a better direction, but still utilizing a lot of what we had in place. So the marketing company, it's a $12,500 agreement, and they do all the marketing for our summer concert series. It's been the same company for a few years. They have the same design. It's basically just replacing the information. And then not only that, but we are also in agreement, it has been shared with Spyboy, that they're also responsible for promoting. But for us this time around, it's maybe potentially spending $50,000 versus about $300,000. So I personally feel comfortable with the marketing that we do because we've worked with them for so long. And at this point, with it being March 1st, we're already behind. So usually the tickets go on sale March. So I personally feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm not saying the marketing company. We can keep the same one. I just don't think we should be paying for marketing. I think Spyboy should be paying for the marketing of it. Because when it comes down to it, if the show isn't very successful, they're going to blame it on us not doing enough marketing for it. That's where I think we should put the blame on them for the marketing part of it.
They're incentivized to have a good show, though, because they get paid at a ticket. They
Yeah,
get paid
I
for the
Right, but
ticket
they're
sales.
going, but we're also saying we're going to do the advertisement.
Yeah, but they're also required now to advance and pay all the bands. They're required to set up all the professional sound and lighting production, which are real costs when you're planning a show like that. I looked at this from my perspective as we didn't have a good time with this last year. And I know Casey really worked hard on this last year, and we kind of plan to move in a better direction this year. It may not be a perfect product, but I think the city, part of this is, that's factoring in the background is, you see a value, there's an inherent value to having these shows occur. You know, it's an attraction for the tourists and the residents alike, that they have something to enjoy and use in that building. And we're going to be paying utilities and electric on that building, whether we have something going on in it or not. This provides an improved scenario where we're not advancing all this money and creating potential confusion like we were before. And I'm not looking to go into the past or say anything about that, other than let's try and improve this, but also let's put on some shows, I think was the impetus for putting this in front of council right now. So I'm okay with it from a legal standpoint. I think we are incentivizing the producer of this show to sell tickets.
Are they going to be coming to us and saying, we want reimbursement for the advertisement that we do?
So I completely understand where you're coming from in regards to the marketing and advertising. Also, like what Mr. Gillen Schwartz said, they now have more responsibility than prior. They have more of a zest for themselves to sell tickets, because previously we were just saying, here, we're going to give you $130,000 and this is for you to do what you want, versus now they have to sell tickets. They have to promote the show themselves as well in order to sell tickets.
And I think like skin in the game is really what we're talking about.
Right, but I guess my point from the advertisement, can we say in this resolution that we will only advertise with that one company this amount of money? And anything above that, they have to pay for it. I don't want to get a bill from them later in the year going, well, here's all the other advertisement that we did, and we want reimbursement for it.
Can they send us a bill?
No, I think what they envisioned is doing cross-promotion with what, our
Right. I mean,
So
if they
we're-
send us a bill, we're going to say no, right? I mean, I
Well,
just
'cause
want to
it's-
make sure.
Yeah, because, I mean, right here it says, we're responsible for
Deputy Mayor,
advertising.
which section are you looking at?
I'm thinking of like the fourth whereas. Let's see if we can put each, wait a minute. Hold on.
As-
That's not, oh, here it is. On page, it's number 2 with duties at the top, and then it goes down and says, the City of Convention Hall will be responsible for marketing. Box office.
Except
then-
that the city must approve all promotional and marketing materials, press releases, or advertising for the 2022 concert series prior to being released to the public. So, no, you're not going to send us, nobody's going to send us a bill under this contract unless we approve it.
Okay.
Can I'd like to ask about, in ticket prices, it says that Spy Boy will provide material for marketing.
So all that means is they give us photos of the artist, or they give us photos of the bands.
Okay.
And then we work with the marketing company. That's just what we've
They're
done
not
with
doing
them.
brochures or
No,
anything there?
no, that's just being the liaison between us and the artist. And just to touch on the dollar amount too, that's just something that's always been done in all of the agreements with, not just for the summer concert series, but across the board at all the convention hall events. So that's the only reason I kept that the same too.
I'm sorry,
Rather,
what did you keep the same?
because you had asked about the dollar amount versus a percentage.
The $5, no, well, I said, yeah, the $5 per ticket.
Right, so that's what they've always done. They've always done a certain dollar amount per ticket versus any kind of percentage, and that went just for, not just for the summer concerts, but also everything at Convention Hall.
I think that you've probably saved us a couple $100,000 a year by doing this. It's, even if we lost money, which is, I guess, a possibility, if there are low turnouts and we've got a lot of staffing, but it looks to me like we'll possibly make money, but again, we're having concerts and not fronting money for performers, which is the killer.
And I think the way it's written, it begs the promoter to have good acts that are going to sell well, because they have a lot more skin in the game than we do, really.
The bottom line, Mayor, if I may, is, Casey's done an outstanding job turning things around. And as I said earlier, look, we're not going to lose money anymore. And I want you to look at some more upbeat concerts where people are really going to get excited of the entertainment we're providing. And
What were the examples that you provided?
Huh?
What were the examples that you provided for upbeat, Mike?
I'm never coming again.
But anyway, seriously, in government, well, I mean, we're in entertainment in this arena we're talking about right now. In government, we're not supposed to lose money.
Right.
We're not supposed to make money. We're supposed to break even. Now, if we make a few bucks, that's okay.
Right.
But we're just trying to promote. She's doing an outstanding job working with what she had, and we're not going to continue to lose money.
Right.
We may not make a whole lot, but she's going to present a good program this summer, and we're going to be very proud of her.
Good.
This also allows for, because there have been a lot of ideas or a lot of different interests, so this does also allow for us to start implementing new things. Still doing what we were doing, but adding new things too.
Do we have a time that we hope to have the lineup?
Well, after tonight, I'll be reaching out immediately tomorrow, so I'm hoping as soon as possible.
Any other questions, council? Good. Okay, roll call?
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes, and I just compliment again Casey, your staff, and I know Mike and Chris worked on this a bit to really get this as close to excellent as possible. So hope to see some good acts this summer and hope to see all of you attend because we're going to get $5 for every one of you, so. All right.
All right, council, next we have 8903, 2022, resolution of the City of Cape May authorizing change order number 4 for a contract with Think Pavers Hardscaping LLC for Soldiers and Sailors Park improvements.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
The reason why I pulled this is I think we should add to this resolution the itemized list of the expenses that were sent out to us so that it's a complete list of what the charges were for that $53,000 that we're adding to pay Think Pavers.
89. Okay.
I believe that was all attached.
No, the itemized list wasn't attached.
So, council, that I believe was recently distributed by City Manager Vol, but I also believe there may have been some inconsistency between what was listed on that document and what is written in this resolution, and I'm sure.
It was a typo, and the council's going to explain
Yeah,
that.
so our
So
solicitor might want to speak to that.
Right, so there's a signed payment application, there's a letter from our engineer confirming his review and approval of the work. The resolution, payment application are correct, and that was what was signed by the contractor. The change order, I believe, has a typo. So the work in there is itemized correctly, but the total contract amount is incorrect by a few $100s. But that is,
Is that $53,599.27?
no, it's actually the total sum that, the contract sum. So the contract sum that is in the payment application and the resolution is $594,039.85. That's correct. The change order, which itemizes the work that you referenced, Deputy Mayor, has $594,930.85, which, like I said, is a couple $100 difference.
59, I'm sorry, can you say that one more?
$594,930.85 is incorrect.
Yeah, but that's not the change order. The change order is only for $53,000.
My point is that the change order reflects a total contract amount that is inconsistent. So council would not be authorizing the greater contract amount. The one that's in the resolution is the correct one, and that's what you would be authorizing. So, in other words, we need a revised change order from Think Pavers, but you can authorize that it be signed, provided it reflects the correct number.
And I can absolutely attach that to the resolution. I just want it to be the correct contract amount.
So do you want to make that as a motion?
I'm a little confused.
Okay. Deputy Mayor's
Yeah,
confused.
I guess I'm just looking for them to attach to this resolution the
The breakdown.
change order number 4, that is for $53,599.
Right,
That
so,
we have it itemized and included in this resolution.
and I'm 100% fine with that. I would just note for the record that the total contract amount should be stricken through with the correct amount written in. And I don't care if we sign the one that's written in ink or the new one that they send over. The one that gets signed by the city has the correct amount on it, that's all.
Now, is this the,
The one that you're showing me right now is the payment application. It should be that's signed, that's correct. It has the lower total contract amount.
Okay. Okay.
I don't.
Does anyone have the printout that was sent earlier?
I have it on my computer, but I know what you're talking about, though. It has the list
it's
of
like
work.
one for lights being changed.
Right.
For grinding down the granite and things like that.
So all I'm saying is, that's great, and that should be included because it does itemize the work. It's just the number at the end is just the wrong number, that's all.
I'll strike it through and put the right amount at the end.
Right.
That's fine, as long as you don't mind my
okay,
handwriting on that. But absolutely, I can attach it. It's just the amount of the change order, the amount is correct. accept the final contract amount, there's a typo listed on that document that Manager Vol emailed earlier.
Did everyone get a chance to see that, where it broke down the change order? The amounts? It was emailed today. It just broke down what the 53,000 and change.
Yes.
It broke down the 53,000 into an itemized,
5 different items that were,
Right.
that they used.
that were done.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it.
So, but I'm sure you don't. So Deputy Mayor has a amendment that she'd like to add the itemized list to the resolution.
Right.
Do I have?
Make a motion.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan,
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes. Do I have a motion on the amended resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Second. Any other questions or comments on it? Yeah. Roll call?
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan,
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes. Thank you.
And next, we have Resolution 92-03, 2022, resolution approving a memorandum of agreement between the City of Cape May and the IAFF Local 3495.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments on 92?
I have some comments. For this contract, it took over a year. We had some firemen come up to the podium, talk about how low the first-year firemen are making, and, that it's a disgrace. I want to comment, in this contract, in the first year, there's a substantial increase to the first-year firemen, of almost 13%. But I feel we kind of dropped the ball, because after that, the percentage increase is only around 2.5% for the next 4 years, whereas the upper year, it's an 18-year step, and the upper steps have upwards of almost 4% at the higher levels. And I feel that's, again, wasn't fair as a whole, that if we're going to give a percentage increase, it should have been the same percentage over those continual 4 years for 21, 22, and 23, that those percentages should have been the same. Somebody that's not making much money, the percentage increase is at 2% isn't much there. Almost when you go down to the higher levels, when they're making it like 100,000, and you're giving them 4% increase, where you're only giving the person that's making 40,000 a 2.5% increase. I just didn't think it was very fair. Because again, from the 2020 contract, roughly, the tier 18 was making around 57%. Well, let me go back. I'll give numbers here. Year 18, I did year 17, or 18. In 2020, they were making $85,500 for year 18. Year 1 was making $36,000. They were making 57% less than year 18, doing the same job. Then you have in 2024, again, year 1 will be making $44,500. The year 18 will making $100,000, and the percent difference again is about 55%. So again, the percentages still stay the same, even though it was argued that we have to pay the lower labor grades more. But when it came time to the contract time, it didn't pan out that way.
Thank you. I'll just comment that I don't think there's anybody up here that would disagree with that. I think at the time, the advice of our attorney has been to say basically nothing throughout this whole process. And I know all of us wanted to say a few things during the process. And I compliment counsel for, it's a difficult position for everyone to be in. And I will say that the initial step being at 36,000, and I said this during the negotiations at the befuddlement of our own attorney, but I said at the 36,000 that the lowest step had been at for 10 years. The past two administrations allowed that step to be at 0%. 0% increase year after year after year. That was the previous administrations that allowed that to happen. We did not. We allowed for an 18% increase right now, and it's back paid. So this goes back to the day we all stepped into office. They are getting an 18% increase at the lowest step. And it makes it competitive because we want the best firefighters we possibly can. So I'll also say this for this council. In the last 14 months, we've negotiated 6 union contracts. The previous year in 2020, not one was negotiated under the previous administration, not one. And we also negotiated at least 6 other individual contracts. So we're over a dozen contracts in the last 14 months. And I'm going to say for the record, and for some serious reasons, some of the things that have been said over the last 14 months, not one contract was negotiated by the previous administration in 2020. Not only that, but we're also doing the fire station. You all know that well, but we said we're going to do it, and we're doing it. We're getting it done. On March 15th, we're going to have a bond issuance, an ordinance to do the police station. We said we were going to be doing the police station. We're going to be doing the police station. And again, that's under a 0% tax increase. This significant increase to our firefighters is under a 0% tax increase, and it back pays for over a year, as we've done with 5 other union contracts. And I want to say that took a ton of work from this administration. I compliment Mike Vole, I compliment Lou Belasco, Leon, and our CFO, Mr. Young, Neil Young. It took a lot of effort to be able to do all of those contracts in 1 year, 14 months if you're counting. But to do so, one of the back pays, and I'm going to say this now, one of the back pays was from a union contract that expired in 2018. We had to back pay to 2018, and we're doing that again at a 0% increase. And the reason we're able to do that is sound financial planning. We're saving on our interest rate. We got a higher interest rate in our banking. We're saving because we're refunding our bonds. We saved $1.7 million. That took a lot of effort and planning from this administration, and I just want to say that we would not be able to be giving these significant raises if those things had not occurred. I want to give some credit to this administration for doing that. And again, just reiterate that we've now basically, in my opinion, raised, not in my opinion, but by fact, we've raised all of the union contracts. Without step movement, I think it's over 4% increase on average to people who deserved a raise, and they were being underpaid. And yes, I agree with the deputy mayor on some of the minor issues within the contract, but I think overall, you have to look at who's negotiating the contract for an answer to that. But the fact is, I think it's well-deserved, and again, at no detriment to the taxpayers to get this done.
I just have one more question, or one more statement to make. I'm disappointed in this contract that we didn't stick to what the raises were we were giving to other contracts. I think it's not fair when you give other contracts a certain one, you try to stay in that, and then you go and give raises that are extreme to a certain group. And that, I don't think it's being fair.
Yes, Mayor.
Mr. Meyer, go ahead.
I'd like to just do a little repeating. We're taking the starting salary from $36,000, and we're increasing it by, I think it's $7,300, up to $42,300. Well, that's for 2022. So we're increasing it $7,300 for the starting salary. I think that's a It's a major step in the right direction, and it will continue to get better as you stay with the department. And again, without increasing taxes, this is all being back paid from, since January 1st, 2021. And there's also been some changes in the vacation. Before, the firefighters had to have a 3-day vacation. Now we've made it more flexible so they can have 24-hour vacations at a time. I just want to thank the firefighters and the union negotiators for being patient with the city of Cape May. I want to thank also the city manager and everybody else as part of the negotiations. This is on my desk now. This is on city council's desk. And the only reason it's on our desk is I have faith that this is what the firefighters want. And I hope that the majority of the firefighters did vote for this. Because once we make this decision, we can't go back. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the negotiations?
You guys said a lot, but I do think that this is going to entice the firefighters at the lower level, at the earlier steps, to remain with the department. And that was the one thing that we were looking at as a council. And then considering all of the other contracts locally, similar municipalities that we have, this kind of brings it back in line to what we need it to be. So I understand that there's a huge jump to it, but it brings it in line to what other municipalities are. That's all.
Thank you.
I made a math error. It's $6,300. Sorry.
No problem. All right. Any other questions or comments?
I'm going to just restate something that Shane said, which is, we hope that all of the firefighters are happy with this contract. It's important to us. We get the feeling that they are. It was a well-negotiated contract, and that's basically it.
Thank you. And I know, labor negotiations are not easy for anybody, but I know all of us up here definitely support our firefighters, and we thank you for your service to Cape May. And I know it's been difficult for both police and fire and really anyone in the administration over, especially COVID, the amount of calls that people have been working on. You really have been our heroes in town, and we appreciate you. And also, too, I will also recognize some of the other things besides the contract, the firehouse. We also have done a new ambulance within the last year, the switch to county dispatch, which of course was asked for several years, new radios, which were asked for several years. So I think we're starting to really push in the right direction, and it makes our citizens safer. So it's positive all the way around. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
No.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Finally, council, we have 9303-2022, resolution authorizing the use of competitive contracting for the provision of tourist and visitor transportation services in the city of Cape May.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sheehan?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Any old business, council?
Any old business? No? Okay. Any new business? Councilwoman Baldwin?
No, nothing today, thank you.
Nothing? Okay. Mr. Meyer? Councilman Meyer?
I think Pastor Allen coming today was very fitting. My heart and prayers go out to Ukraine as well, and everybody else in support of Ukraine. I think those who may be watching our live stream right now, to remind them at 9 o'clock is the State of the Union address. I think it's going to affect us each and one of us in the future, and I think we as a council have to be very attentive to what's going on in the world, because I think it will affect us at home, gas prices and people coming down to vacation in Cape May. So, even if it's on the other side of the world, I think it has a major impact to us spiritually and financially.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Deputy Mayor?
One type of advertisement. The Fisherman's Memorial is going to have a service on Saturday, April 2nd at 11 a.m. If anybody knows of anybody that has anybody on the wall, can you please reach out to them and let them know about this service? And if they'd like to participate, to reach out to me. And we are going to do a nice program with the Coast Guard. My next question was, I guess this is to the mayor. You just mentioned something about a police station? When are we going to, this is the first I've heard about it, so I just want to,
Well,
Well, after-
we're going to be bidding for it.
and when are we bidding?
Bonding, rather, I'm
Bonding for
sorry,
it?
bonding.
Oh, for the capital expense?
Yes.
Okay, and where is this going to, police station going to go?
Well, we're going to talk about that very soon.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
It's not a secret. We do have to.
It's a secret to me because I never heard about it.
Okay. Mr. Yeager?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I just echo the comments of Mr. Meyer, and I think that I appreciate the Reverend here from Church of the Advent for being here this evening. We thank you very much, and Pastor Allen. And I do want to say, again, congratulations to Sergeant Cole. It's very nice to hear that. And thank you all very much this evening. We will open it up for public comment.
All right. Anyone wishing to publicly comment, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to a 5-minute time frame.
Any public comment? No? Seeing none? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Time is 7:45.